Welcome to your weekly AI City update. Don't forget to subscribe for more AI updates.
Right now on OpenRouter, there is a model nobody will put their name on. It is called ARX Alpha. It is free. It holds 1 million tokens of context. And on a hard coding benchmark, one community run posted 80% ahead of Claude Fable 5 and well ahead of GPT-5, 6 Sol. The catch is the part that should actually worry you. Nobody will say who built it. About a week ago, on the 20th of August, a new listing appeared on OpenRouter. The name was ARX Alpha, the identifier Stealth ARX Alpha. The description calls it a reasoning model for coding, long-running agentic work, and production workloads. It takes text, images, and video as input. It has a full 1 million token context window, big enough to drop an entire large codebase into a single prompt. And right now, it costs nothing at all. That alone would be worth a look. But this one is different. OpenRouter tells you on the listing itself that this is a stealth model developed and operated by a third-party provider who has chosen to remain anonymous during this preview. Not one lab has stepped forward to claim it. The Chinese developer community even gave it a nickname, taken from a viral meme, the ox cow, and a phrase about a bull coming. So the whole thing has the feel of an Easter egg, dropped into the middle of the frontier. If you build with coding agents, if you route a company repository, or if you simply keep an eye on whether Chinese labs are closing the gap with Anthropic and OpenAI, this is the story to understand this week. Let me show you the listing, because OpenRouter is unusually direct about it. The warning reads, this stealth model is developed and operated by a third-party model provider. Prompts and completions are retained by the provider and are not used for training. All other use is governed by the stealth model terms, so OpenRouter is emphatically not the developer, owner, or provider here. It only routes requests. And the card itself tells you the practical shape of the thing. Free pricing, a 1 million token context, 131,000 tokens of output, and a single hosting provider with a 6-second median latency and about 20 tokens per second. One provider, one point of failure, and no name attached. Now the number everyone is sharing. It comes from independent developers running the DeepSWE coding benchmark. ARX Alpha took 80%. It beat Claude Fable 5 at 65. It beat GPT-5, 6 Sol at 52. Those three are the headline, but read the full run and it is more interesting still. It passed 8 of the 10 deterministic tasks on that set. It passed an enormous regression suite, more than 51,000 tests. And across a long agentic run of 69 tool calls, it made exactly one error. That is a seriously strong showing. Now be careful, because that framing does a lot of work. That is a small community run, not an official vendor result. A different leaderboard, Kingbench, shows ARX Alpha at 87.5 against GLM5. 3 at 91.25. Same model, 2 different numbers. So the exact figure depends on which test you choose to believe. What is not really in dispute is that an anonymous model is landing in the top tier of a genuinely hard coding benchmark. That is why the whole industry is watching. So who actually built this thing? Here is where it gets interesting. There is no confirmed maker, but the strongest technical evidence points to Zhipu, the Chinese lab behind the GLM family. An independent researcher, Ben Davis, says he is 99% certain this is an unreleased GLM5 series model, and it's not a hunch. He traced the tokenizer across 30 probe strings and 14 writing systems and found it matched GLM5-3 exactly, with a fixed wrapper offset. He watched how the model handles video, and it matched Zhipu's GLM5 V-Turbo on 3 independent design choices, and a deliberately broken request leaked a Java stack trace that pointed at Zhipu's own API gateway. Together, that's a strong fingerprint. But the same evidence gets read differently by different people. One outlet first said GLM, then revised to suggest an unreleased Microsoft M.AI. Others point at Xiaomi's MiMo, although a Xiaomi worker denied it, and the tokenizer tests didn't match. Some point at Google because the profile, a big context, native image and video, long agent tasks, fits that family. One DeepMind researcher posted a single word, Gemini, and a strange line about meeting a friend along the way. There's even a running joke that a big US tool company quietly took an open GLM and retrained it, which would explain who could afford this. And here is the useful part. None of it is proven. Zhipu has not commented. The maker has not claimed credit. The analyst who first floated the GLM theory later pasted that, by the next morning, people seem less sure of anything. Meanwhile, the head of a major payments company, whose firm is acquiring OpenRouter, called it very impressive. So you have serious names praising it, and no one willing to own it. And this has happened before. An earlier anonymous model on OpenRouter, called Pony Alpha, later turned out to be an early GLM5 test. That precedent is the main reason so many people assume Zhipu again this time. And the reporters raise a deeper point. Who trained a model and where a model is deployed are quickly becoming two different questions. Models get distilled, merged, fine-tuned, and run on third-party infrastructure. So a matching tokenizer or video encoder is a very good clue, but it is not a confession, which is why the whole thing stays in mystery territory rather than getting a clean answer. Now here is the part that should genuinely stop you. OpenRouter's listing says prompts are retained, but not used for training. But OpenRouter's own stealth model terms grant the platform and the unnamed provider the right to use your content for training, evaluation, and improvement. Those two statements are in tension, and the published material does not explain how that tension resolves in your favor. Think about what that means. You would be routing proprietary code into an agent that can call tools, operated by a party who refuses to say who they are, with nobody legally accountable at the other end. The write-ups about this model flag exactly that as a compliance risk for builders who route their own repository through it. For a personal toy, that is a calculation. For a company codebase, that is a security problem, not a hypothetical. And the community is genuinely split on whether it is even good. The chief executive of one AI company reported it underperformed in their own tests. A Wharton professor called it not that impressive. Some developers found it weak at low reasoning effort and weaker than a rival model on vision tasks. And the researcher behind the benchmark himself says the sample is still small and the results need independent verification before anyone reshapes the competitive landscape around them. So the same model is being called both a breakthrough and a letdown, depending on who you ask. On paper, the value is wild, free, 1 million tokens of context, 131,000 tokens of output, image and video on the input side, throughput around 20 to 30 tokens per second, but free is exactly the catch. This is a limited time preview, free for about a week, and it is available not just through OpenRouter, but through the Open Code Agent Platform too. Now think about the economics, because this is the tell. The operator has claimed it can move around 100 trillion tokens per day during the window. That is not a price tag. That is a hook. Someone spending serious money to get developers to run their work through it and to hand it their prompts. So here is my verdict on Ox Alpha. If you are curious and you want to stress test a huge context reasoner on code, the free window is genuinely interesting, worth an evening or two, as long as you keep it away from anything you would not want to hand to a stranger. If you are building a product or routing a private repository, or if you need a named provider and some accountability, then the anonymity is disqualifying. You do not deploy your company's codebase on a model that will not tell you who is reading it. What is still unproven? The maker, the safety posture and the data policy, whether the benchmark generalizes beyond that small set, and whether whatever is behind Ox Alpha even outlives this preview. So let me be honest about the label. This is a launch analysis, not a full lab test. AI City did not run this model because it needs an API key and it sits inside a limited free listing. Treat the numbers as community reports and judge it on what you can verify yourself. The real lesson here is not about tokens, it is about trust. A model this capable, with no name behind it, is a sharp reminder of how far capability has outrun accountability. When the next anonymous model appears, and it will, ask the same 3 questions I asked here. Who made this? Who is allowed to see my data? And what happens the day something goes wrong?
Thank you for watching. Click here to subscribe. Click here to subscribe for more AI updates.